If you like things organized, aesthetic, and easy to manage like I do, then you might want to stay and see my Notion reading tracker. So, I've always loved the idea of a reading journal. I was a bullet journaler a little bit myself, and I had all the things, but then I realized that I just no longer have the time for it. But now I'm super tempted to rebuy everything I gave away to make a reading journal. But realistically, I know that's not gonna work for me, like I said, just because I don't have enough time to maintain that. So I built a Notion reading tracker to hopefully scratch that itch for me while keeping that aesthetic, organized vibe. So today, let's walk through my Notion reading tracker. All right, so here's just kind of a view of our Notion page. Everything is on one page. We just have two databases, but then they're going to be repeated a couple times to get different views, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. But yeah, everything's on one page, and let's get right into it. So first we have our currently reading. I like having this right up top because it's right there and I can go in and take notes. Hopefully there wasn't a spoiler for you guys there. And for this currently reading, it's literally my books database, but it's filtered to show only the ones with a status of currently reading or reading or something. And this is a kind of gallery view with none of the covers showing, just because I like how it pops out. You can see each one and it's just, I don't know, I like the vibes. And this TBR section is exactly the same like books database, but this time it's filtered for the status of TBR. And then this one is just in a list view. I like how clean it is. You don't really have to look through other books when wanting to look at my TBRs. I like that for both of these. Currently reading and TBR is that they're clean, easy to see, easy to make sense of the information. All right, then right here is our ratings guide or our star guide. So I'm someone who doesn't really know what the hell I'm talking about when I talk about stars, because sometimes 3 is like, oh my gosh, I like it, but sometimes 3 is like, meh, it's meh. So I created this little guide for myself to read and make sure that my star ratings are actually kind of consistent in one way or another. So from best to worst, my 5 is fave, love, can't live without, super emotionally invested, I probably cried, or had really strong emotions one way or another. 4.5, it's really, really good. It's just not quite there, but still kind of love it. 4 is I really liked it. 3.5 is I liked it. It's okay. It's cool. 3 is it's average. It's not good. It's not bad. It is what it is. 2.5 is just enjoyable enough to finish without having to push myself. 2 is not for me personally, but I can see why others would like it, but I just don't, just not me. 1.5 is I literally barely could finish this, and I just had to really, really push through to even try to finish this. And 1 is if I finished it and I actively dislike it and I actively will recommend people not read it, that's a 1. All right, into the good stuff. So this section is called Books Read, but literally it just holds my books database with a bunch of different views. So right now I'm at the this month table. So this is all the books that I'm currently reading or have read this month. I also have a this year table, which is similar, but this year. I also have a full view gallery of kind of just every book that's in everything, whether it's done, whether it's TBR, whether it's currently reading, whatever it is, it's on here. All right, let's go into an actual book and look at the properties and the things inside of it. So here are my properties. So I have this status property where it's done, reading, and TBR. And then this also helps power that currently reading view and that TBR view. So this really just helps automate everything as well as helps me see where I am with the book. Author is just author. Currently it's just text. I wish I would have done a drop down list, but I don't want to fix that now. Smutty. Yeah, this one is just vibes. Yes, if it's real smutty. Kinda, if it's kind of smutty. If there's a little bit of something there, or there might be a lot there, but it's only like one thing. For example, I would say the love hypothesis is like there's one little thing there. Like there's one really strong thing there, but it was only just the one. And then no, there was just not. Rating, here it's just a single drop down or like a single choose drop down where I could pick what rating I want to do. Cry is just, I'm being a little dramatic, but if I cried, I want to know. I just want to remember if a book had given me strong enough emotions to cry. Start and finish. So yeah, I like tracking my start and finish dates, especially to help with the this month and this year tables. But I don't care how specific it is. If it doesn't matter in a view, I'll probably just leave it if I had forgotten it. But if it's important to show up in a certain kind of filter, I'll guesstimate. And then for medium, this kind of helps me remember how I read it. So it's either a physical book, an audiobook, Libby, Kindle Unlimited, and then Kindle. Some of this can be mixed and matched. Like I could do Kindle and Libby. I could do Kindle and Kindle Unlimited because I've read the Libby book on Kindle, or I read the Kindle Unlimited book on Kindle, etc. And then if I just bought the book, I'd probably just put Kindle. If I have the physical book, makes sense, I think. And then we have series, which is just kind of a relationship to our series table, and it'll list every single series that we have here. This helps us track what series this book is for, but also make sure that this book shows up in my series database. And then we'll get into that series database later, but quickly let's look at my notes. So the first one is just a quick plot summary. I like having this quick plot recap in the top just to help further remember the plot. For the most part, I will remember the basics of a plot, like into depth and like seeing all the little things. I tend to forget those little aspects, so I try to make sure I have a way of remembering the full picture of the story. And then here I have characters where I can list more about a certain character, whether they're main character or side character, especially in like long series. I might forget who like a certain teacher is if they come back in like the third book or something. I'm not putting every single name that's ever in the book, but anyone that kind of just stands out and like feels like they might be important to the plot in one way or another, they go on here. Favorite quotes and moments. I don't always fill this out, but if I'm reading on the Kindle, I'm able to export my highlights and kind of put them on here, just to get a sense of what parts I liked. And then here for chapter by chapter notes. They're not always chapter by chapter, depending on how I'm reading this book. If I'm vlogging for this book, it totally depends. Sometimes they'll just be unorganized bullet points, or they could be organized by chapter. It just totally depends on my mood for that book. But if I ever do have to take notes, they go into this notes section. All right, and then here we are at the series I'm in the middle of section, which is just where I hold my series, because some of these are not even in the middle of. Some of these I'm done with. All right, so there's not really any, if we open this up, there's not really any kind of template or thing going on inside. This is literally just a view to look at all the series. So we don't have to go into the page or anything. So here we just have the name, and then status. Here are all my different options. Is want to read, in progress, where in progress is I'm reading it and I plan to continue to read it even though I'm not reading a specific book for it at that moment. So in progress just means I'm in the middle of that series and I do plan to finish it. Caught up makes sense. I feel like I'm caught up. I've read all the books that are out and I'm waiting on books to come out. Done is just done. I've read every single book that has come out. Dropped is I am not going to read this. I mean, obviously things can change, but I probably will not ever read this. And punt is similar to drop, but punt is I probably might read it at some point, but right now it's not even a priority and I'm going to drop, technically. For example, The Crescent City is punted, but I know that there is some crazy like Avengers style crossover. I mean, I don't know if it's Avengers style, and we don't know because I don't think the series is done yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. But it's a punt right now. So that's the status. Books, it's just number of books in the series. And then fiction is just the connection to the books database, which I called fiction. And then it'll list every book that is in that database. So some of this, like Unravel Me, is on my TBR, where Shatter Me is done. So if it's in my database, even as a TBR, it's going to show up. But yeah, this also just helps me see which of the series I've already read or am planning to read for that book or for that series. So here it's super easy to get a snapshot of what I've read or am reading with this series. So that's pretty much how I set up my Notion reading tracker. It's simple, it's flexible, and it works for me no matter if I'm in a reading slump or if I'm reading like 10,000 books a week. And so far it's been working really, really well for me. If you also have a Notion tracker or a reading journal, let me know what you like tracking or what works for you. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the video. See you guys in the next one. Bye.